Rayastai's kingdom's flag is still flying high above its cities. However, dark clouds are beginning to gather over the horizon. If we move our point of view far beyond the borders of the nation, we can see that there are evil things stirring over there, forces that the kingdom of Rayastais has never seen before. Meanwhile, at this very moment, inside the great tomb of Nazareth, the Overlord Ainzul Gaon is making preparations for his first true display of power. Right now, he was sitting on his throne, exchanging information with his subordinates about their infiltration into the human world. As his retainers reported on the details of the country, city, village, and people, he made sure to pay special attention to any reports about monsters, adventurers, or other matters related to the outside world. Ains is not planning on invading the human kingdom right away. He wants to test the waters first. He wanted to send out a force to get a better grasp of the world's current strength and also gauge how humans would react to such a provocation. After deliberating on what kind of forces to use, he decided to aim for a small lizardman tribe deep within the swamp. He had Demiurge gather all the necessary data on them. But why did Ains choose them? Could it be because he had a twisted sense of humor and found amusement in bullying the weak? That would be an accurate assessment, but not the whole truth. He genuinely wanted to understand whether primitive societies could withstand magic, how they organized under pressure, and most importantly, if loyalty could be forged through fear. These were the questions he wanted to answer. After setting his sights on the lizardman, Ains gave the mission to Cocytus, the guardian of the fifth floor, who is known for his stoicism, obedience, and ruthlessness. Even during battles, he remained composed, keeping his movements precise and unchanging until victory was achieved. However, when it came to Ains, Cocytus sometimes felt inadequate as he didn't fully grasp his master's unpredictable schemes. For instance, he still couldn't figure out why they had infiltrated the Great Tomb. This assignment, however, was straightforward and would give him a chance to shine, an opportunity to prove himself as a commander. Thus, he accepted the mission without hesitation and immediately began his preparations. With Cocytus leading the way, an army of skeletal warriors and other undead beings marched towards the location of the lizardmen. When the lizard tribes got wind of the approaching undead horde, they knew that doom was near. Most of them chose to flee, but a few brave warriors stayed behind, ready to fight to the death. One of them was the chief of the lizard tribe, Cage. He didn't want to abandon his home and loved ones, so he gathered a small group of elite warriors around him and started to formulate a battle plan. As the undead drew closer, Cage led his men out of their village to face the invaders. Undead soldiers kept pouring out of the forest, but their numbers didn't seem endless. Soon, the lizardmen saw their chance and launched a surprise attack. They managed to wound several undead and bring down one of the skeleton mages. Although this initial attack caught the undead off guard, it only enraged them, causing them to become even more relentless. However, the lizardmen stood their ground, fighting fiercely and dealing heavy blows to the undead. In the midst of the battle, Cage kept encouraging his companions, reminding them that their bravery would protect their families and loved ones. Seeing this resistance, Cocytus became more interested and gave orders to let the lizardmen inflict more damage, wanting to see how much they could hold out. As the battle raged on, the lizardmen began to exhaust their strength. Despite being outnumbered, they had inflicted significant damage on the undead, but they were starting to lose steam. Suddenly, one of the lizardmen noticed that the undead seemed to be unfazed by pain and exhaustion. No matter how many wounds they sustained, they continued to fight relentlessly. At that moment, the lizardmen realized they were up against something truly terrifying. As the sun began its descent, Cocytus signaled the end of the battle. With a wave of his hand, the undead stopped attacking and prepared to finish off the remaining lizardmen. Realizing that the situation was hopeless, Cage gathered his strength and charged towards the nearest undead warrior, determined to die with honor. Seeing this, Cocytus stopped the rest of his army and watched as Cage fought with the valor of a warrior. However, before the lizard chief could land a final blow, Cocytus approached him and ended his life with a single strike of his naginata. The remaining lizardmen witnessed their chief's demise and understood that further resistance was futile. They dropped their weapons and awaited their fate. Instead of delivering the expected death blow, Cocytus surprised them by asking if they would accept a different path, one that involved serving the Nazareth instead of dying where they stood. The lizardmen looked at each other in confusion, unsure how to respond. But before they could decide, Cocytus declared that they were now subjects of Nazarick and ordered them to prepare for their new lives under their new master. The lizardmen were stunned by the sudden turn of events, but ultimately agreed to become vassals of Nazarick. After the lizardmen submitted, Cocytus turned his attention to the defeated lizard chief Cage. Moved by the man's bravery in the face of death, he decided to revive him using his ability, which allowed him to manipulate ice. Cocytus sent shards of ice into the chief's body, bringing him back to life. However, the process left the lizardman with a pitch-black eye patch covering his left eye. Cage looked around and saw that the battle was over and his tribe was now subservient to the undead. Despite feeling betrayed by his own body, Cage pledged his loyalty to Nazarick and vowed to serve as an example for the other lizardmen. In order to demonstrate the true extent of his magic, Cocytus brought down a large tree using ice magic and infused it with his life force, creating a frost undead. This creature was different from the previous ones as it had a distinct form and appeared to be a lot stronger. Once the preparations were complete, Cocytus led his newly acquired vassal along with the rest of the lizardmen back to the great tomb of Nazarick. Back in Eretil, the first rumors about the undead army were reaching the royal court. The story goes that entire villages were suddenly wiped out without a trace. Monsters had grown bolder, attacking supply lines and merchant caravans, and even some adventurers had vanished. Now, these incidents could be easily dismissed as unfortunate events happening in a war-torn world. Perhaps a monster had suddenly gone on a rampage, or maybe an adventurer had simply met a gruesome end. The people of Rheastais didn't realize that a greater danger was stirring in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They had no idea that the Supreme Being had already begun his work. Cocytus was surprised by the strength and courage shown by the lizardmen and decided to reward them by taking them back to Nazarick. As for the Frost Undead, he named it Frostdrake and chose to keep it by his side as a loyal companion. Meanwhile, in the throne room, Albedo was having her usual conversation with her partner, Sebastian, who had recently returned from a trip to the human world. During their conversation, she mentioned that Ains had chosen to send an army to subjugate the lizardmen, and she was curious to know how it went. On Sebas's suggestion, they decided to visit the 5th floor to find out more. As they ascended the floor, they noticed that the atmosphere was different from their own, and Albedo commented on the possibility of the experiment being related to Cocytus. When they finally reached the 5th floor, they saw the defeated lizardmen along with their revived chief and the powerful Frostdrake. Albedo was impressed by the results and expressed her admiration for Cocytus, who had successfully completed his mission. She also revealed her excitement for the upcoming invasion of the human kingdom. Ains called his floor guardians and other trusted subordinates to the throne room to discuss his next move. He inquired about the progress of their respective tasks and listened intently to their reports. Once they had finished, Ains shared his thoughts on how to deal with the lizardmen, suggesting that they should leave the captured individuals alone for now and observe them from afar. However, some of his subordinates, including Demiurge, disagreed, arguing that they shouldn't hesitate to eliminate the lizardmen as they were already aware of Nazaric's existence. This disagreement highlighted the different perspectives and approaches to dealing with their new subjects. As the meeting continued, Aura and Mare informed Ains that they had discovered traces of dragon magic in the swamp forest, indicating the presence of a dragon. Ains listened intently, realizing that such a powerful creature could pose a threat to the balance of power in the region. He acknowledged the importance of dealing with this dragon and decided to assign Aura and Mare to investigate further and report back to him with more information. With that, the meeting came to an end and Ains was left to ponder the implications of the dragon's presence in the area. He knew that any major development in the outside world could significantly impact the plans he had carefully laid out. Therefore, he decided to pay closer attention to the reports coming from the lower floors and remain vigilant. As the story unfolds, the alliance between Lizardmen and Nazarick grows, promising an exciting chapter in the series. Fans eagerly anticipate the next installment, eager to see how this unexpected partnership will shape the future of the story. The clash between the undead and the Lizardmen showcased the raw power and strategic brilliance of the Guardians, leaving viewers in awe. The thought of exploring the mysteries of the tomb and uncovering the secrets of Nazarick keeps audiences engaged and eager for more. What do you guys think of this video? If you like it, make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe for more awesome content. We've got lots of amazing videos coming your way, so don't miss out. Until next time, thank you so much for watching.